Great. So tonight we're going to be going over new site 5. So it is week 19, the 12th, and we're going to be going over new site 5. And in new site 5, we're going to be able to create the ability to add an article to our news site. So what type of HTTP requests have we been using in our news site so far? Get requests. So we've been using the fetch API to fetch from a specific API endpoint and getting data from here. But the fetch API can also do post requests and put requests, etc. So if I just type in fetch API, MDN docs. So here is the fetch API. So concepts and usage. So boarding fetch. All right, so let's actually go to it. So fetch, we can get data from a specific resource. And so that's the first parameter. This would be the URL endpoint. And we also can add an optional data object that has different attributes like headers, the body of the request, and all of that. So it consists of the method that we want to perform with the request, such as method, headers, and body. So these are typically the 3 things we'll need. We might add more to it at some point in the future, but these are all the headers that we can add to the API endpoint or to the fetch API. So if we come over here to the JSON placeholder, I'm going to open this up in the console. So if I just run, if I literally just copy this over, fetch like that, I get a promise pending, and I actually get a response back. So here's that body, ID, title, and user. So I can also do, but I can also add stuff to, well, actually, let's actually go up one and let's grab all the posts like that. So we get 100. But if I actually wanted to add to a post, I just want to see what kind of, so I need the body, title, and user ID. Let's do that. So I'm going to say let post. Let's actually zoom in a little bit. Let post equals an object where the body is, this is my first post, title, I'll just say post title of post 1, and I'll say user ID is 1. So if I look at my post, here's the post I want to create. Now, if we scroll down here, we can see how we actually make a post request. So I can make a fetch to this API endpoint /posts. And then the second argument I pass in is an object where I can say the method is going to be a post request followed by some headers. And the headers is going to consist of another object because the headers can have a bunch of stuff in it. If you recall, HTTP headers can have request headers like connection, keep alive, where is it else? Authorization, you can have all this stuff as headers. So headers, we can add multiple things in there. But for right now, we're just going to say what type of content we're going to be sending over. And it's going to be application/JSON. We don't necessarily need that char set UTF-8. And the last thing we need to send over is the body of the request. But we can't send just a JavaScript object over HTTP. What do we have to do in order to send that over?
From the docs, it looks like we have to stringify it.
Yep. If you recall way back when, we have to JSON.stringify it. And if you look at the docs, it's right there. So we JSON.stringify that post like so. So we send that over, and then we always get a response back. We take that response, we convert it to JSON or turn it to a JavaScript object. Then we take that data and let's just console log what response we get back. If everything's done correctly, we'll get some sort of response back. So if I click enter, here we go. So what I sent over was body, title, and user ID. And what I got back was body, title, user ID, and the new post ID that's been created. So because initially we had 100 posts, now we have 101 posts. So this was a successful post to this API endpoint. If I wanted to do something else where maybe I send it, maybe I forgot to JSON.stringify it, I get a 500 error, unexpected token S in JSON at position 0. Maybe if my post doesn't contain maybe a user ID, so now it only contains a body and a title. Maybe if I try to send just the post that consists of, scroll up, whoop, this post consists of just a body and a title, maybe it won't accept that request, that post request. So it looks like this still accepts it without a user ID. So this is still a successful response. And depending on what your API endpoint returns, like if you kind of determine what you want to return, you can either send the actual post back, but if it's like yours, you might just send a post saved or post successfully submitted or something like that. So now that we know that we can make other types of HTTP requests using the fetch API by adding this second argument object that consists of the method we're doing, which is going to be a post request, adding some headers, and the overall body of what's actually being sent over in the request, in the body of the request. So now that we can do that, we can actually start working on new site 5. So I'm going to fork this over, new site 5. And is this my new site 4 right there? So Tom Preet, new site 5. Let's go ahead and CD up a level. So I'm inside my Charlie challenges. I'm going to git clone that down. So now I'm on new site 5. So it kind of talks about making post requests. So if you like to use your own code for new site from new site 4, you can copy the entire source directory over from new site 4. So that is what I'm going to do. So new site 4, I am going to copy. And I'm going to delete new site 5 source directory. And all right, let's go ahead and copy this again. and paste that source directory. I'm gonna again look at the package.json file just to make sure it matches up. So I've got new site 5 and new site 4. I guess that looks about right. Whoop. All right, I'm just looking here, Bootstrap. Upgrade that as well. Just looking. All right, that looks good. So I'm going to CD in a new site 5-1. Open this up into new VS Code window. There we go. And now I'm going to npm install to install all the node packages or the node modules that from this package.json file. Then I'm going to start the app and hopefully everything works. If it doesn't work, then I'll start debugging it. But as that is installing, let's take a look at what we need to do. It says update tests. Don't worry about that update tests. I'll probably get rid of that. All right. So as that is updating, come on. So let's see if everything is working. Post page. Oh, yeah, that's from the other one. I'm gonna get rid of that. I might as well just keep that the same. Added. Oh, what the hell's going on? All right. All right, so it's ran. I'm going to do npm start. All right, it's opening that. And I'm just going to go through. All right, so I'm going to refresh fetching articles. All right, I'm getting an error. So unexpected token and JSON at position 1, articles API. So it looks like my articles API, something's going on. So let's open that up. And is that fetch articles? Line 31. All right. So what I can do. Response. So we've got the response right there. So right here, I've got localhost undefined. So does anybody know what the issue is?
The ternary in the actual URL, the way it's spelled out, just looks kind of for the fetch articles method. Yeah, it just
So if there's filters, does not equal null. So let's actually go to here. So props.search query. So it looks like props we can always simulate. All right. Console log props.search query. So it's a null. So if null, and if this is true, we can always check the network. Yeah, so it's something right here. So maybe it's actually being passed in. Equals null, console log, filters. So filters is null. Filters does not equal null. Why is that? Oh. So actually you just console the URL. Ah, look at that. So why is that? So we are on news site 5.
Do you have an ENV?
Exactly. So I don't have an ENV file like I do have in .env. So does anybody remember? Is it React development? So equals, what is that URL supposed to be? I guess I can always look at Charlie Platoon news site 4 or news site 1, I guess. That's 6. I mean, I guess I could. What would that be? I'm just trying to find a quick way to find it. Pull request. Wouldn't be in there. Does anybody have it?
you're just
Yeah,
looking for the
I was
base
putting that.
URL.
I'm sorry.
I said I pasted it in chat.
Oh. Where is it?
I think that's the correct one you're looking for.
Which chat did you post it in?
Here in the Zoom chat.
Gotcha. Let's take a look at. There it is. That is what I'm looking for. Thank you. Is that? Let's just see if that works. I'm gonna kill the server. All right. So it's loading again. That's a little more like it. So just making sure everything is working. Opinion, world. If I want to look at VOL, it grabs it 8 results, and it also reroutes me back to the home page. So there we go. I'm gonna actually go ahead and get rid of some of these console logs. Thank you for that. So what else we got? Articles API homepage. Whoa. All right. Do a hard refresh. Do I got any other console logs? I got response on 29. Oh, there we go. And if it's a one-liner like that, you don't need that return or the square, the curly braces. All right, everything should still be working. Great. All right, let's see what it tells us to do now. There's our app. I don't even know where it's at, so I'm just gonna. So I can test the fetch by doing it directly inside of, like I did here in the terminal. Where'd my, bring that over here. So if I want to post an article, I need to use that. If I wanted to post an article, what do I need? Let's take a look. So I need a byline and an abstract at a minimum. So I can like let article equals byline. This is a byline. What was the other one? Abstract. This is the abstract. I'm going to also add the title. This is a title, a test article. All right, so if I look at article now, I've got that. So now I can do fetch to that API endpoint. I'm going to localhost 3000/API/articles. And now I can add another article object, or not object. The second parameter, I can pass in the method. This is going to be a post request. The headers. And the headers takes in an object. And it's going to be content type. I guess I'll use. And it's going to be application JSON. Could add more if I want. And then lastly, in the body of the request, I'm going to JSON.stringify that article variable. Then I'm probably going to get a response back. I'm going to take that response. I'm going to run that JSON on it. And then I'm going to get that article back. And I can just console log the article, maybe. We'll see. But if we come down, I hope this doesn't change anything. Shenanigans. So if I come down here and look, there's no post, but if I run that, article is not defined. Let's go ahead and define that article again. So article is right there. And now let's run that fetch to that localhost 3001 API articles. It's going to be a post request application JSON. And then I'm stringifying that article object and passing it into the body. And there we go. Looks like I got a response back and I come console logging it. So I've got the abstract. This is a byline. I've got a created at date. So which is May 12th, 2022. And the ID is 41 now with an article with a title, which is the test article. So I can see if this shows up by doing a refresh. And now my new article shows up. So what questions do you have about the fetch API and making post requests? All right. So
Depending on what the API is, the headers are different.
yeah,
Exactly.
there might be requirement for specific headers, but this is pretty, I don't want to say standard, but this is common.
And that'll be laid out in the documentation for the API, correct?
Exactly. Like some third party APIs might have like API key and equals whatever. Like that's a common one, but some of them say like, hey, add something down here in the headers called like API something. And they'll have you add like your API key here as well. And that's
Now,
just
is the response different depending on the type of API? Like would we always do JSON stringify on an API, or it just depends?
Well, typically on third-party APIs, you're not making post requests or you're not passing anything in the body of the request. It's all in the URL, like up here, or as headers, something in the headers. You're rarely ever like making post requests to third-party APIs. But yeah, read through the documentation. It'll tell you what you specifically need.
That was a good, thanks.
Cool. All right. So if we have this and we know this is working and adding our articles to this. So in our articles API, now we can create a const add article to this. So our add article API endpoint is going to need some article object. And here we can do a try catch, takes in the error, console.error. But in here, we know that, let's actually just format that so it's indented. Let's do the dot then, but maybe we don't want to use the dot thens. Maybe we want to use, oh, I see an error right here. The async await. So I'll just do async and we'll do let response equals await. Let data equals response.json or await response.json. And then maybe at the very end, we return the data. So I just converted this into using async await instead of the dot then. So now we can export this add article API. All right, so hopefully that works. We tested it in the console. So now we can add, what do we need to add next? Well, now we actually need a page and where we can add an article. So I'm going to come down here to pages. I'm going to create a new page component. It's called add article page.js. So I just created an add article page. I'm going to do RSC to create a React stateless functional component like so. And I'm just going to create an H1 add article. I'm just going to keep it as is right now. And then inside of my app.js, I want to create another route to like an add article or another path, another URL to an add article. So I'm going to create a route to path equals, I can call it whatever I want. I'm just going to call it add article. And the element or the component I'm going to render is the add article page. And that should have automatically imported it for me at the top. If it didn't, you're going to have to manually import it like that. So it looks like I'm getting a little squiggly. It's because I haven't added a closing end cap for my route. All right. So just a quick recap what I did. I added an add article API using the fetch and the ability to add or make other types of requests, such as post requests. I could also make put requests. Like you can explicitly say, you can even make a get request doing this as well. But I'm going to make a post request because I'm creating a new article. Headers, content type application JSON, which is encapsulated in another object. So method is a single value, whatever method, get, post, put, delete type of method. Headers is going to be an object because we can add additional headers as needed. And the last thing we want to add is our body of the request. And we're going to have to JSON.stringify it to pass it through the HTTP. So we're JSON.stringifying, and it's going to be this article object that we're passing in here. We haven't defined that yet. This is going to be a variable that we have to fill out a form to create a new article. All right. And then we created an add article page component, which we're going to flush out. And we also added a route to add a new article. So if we come over here, yep.
What was the shorthand for the stateless?
It is RSC.
Thank you.
RSTC if you want the class component.
Yeah, it depends on like, and you can like scroll down and see what they make. RC. So there's a class component. Yeah. So you can kind of see. Cool. All
I've
right.
been using it for the functional, but
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. So I'm over here. I'm going to manually visit this add article URL, and hopefully I get that H1 tag add article showing up. Get rid of that. Cool. So with that, I've got the add article page showing up. Now let's actually create a form within the add article page to fill out and submit that will dispatch to that API. So in my add article, let's actually zoom in a little bit. I'm going to use some React Bootstrap, and utilize a form if they have something laid out. What do we have here?
Up some.
Oh,
there.
forms. So they got a big thing. Cool. So I got something like this. I can literally just kind of copy that over. I'm just looking down here if they have something. Form control. Yeah, I'll just use this form control. No, this part and make edits to it as needed. All right, so add article page. Ooh, just added a bunch of stuff. So it looks like I'm gonna have to import form. I don't need to import group or anything like that because that is off of a form. I don't need this part. So I've got email address. I'm just gonna call that a title. I've got a password. I don't need a password. I'll call it the byline or abstract. I don't know. Control ID. I don't think I need any of that. Placeholder. Enter title. I don't think I need type. I can just say text. Type. It's not. I don't want a password. Abstract. I don't need a checkbox, so I don't need that. I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna make another input and call this byline. And this is going to be a byline. Submit or add. Let's just say like submit article. And this already has a type submit. So this button is already attached to this form because it's within it. So up here, let's actually, before we jump into that, let's go ahead and import all these different React Bootstrap components. So I need a form. What else do I need? I think that's it, and just a button. From React Bootstrap. So hopefully, if everything looks okay, I can come over here and see everything. Oh, I'm getting a bunch of errors. Let's just do a hard refresh. There we go. So I got that byline, title, all that fun stuff, and submit article. I can add a class name, add some margin to it if I want. There we go. Cool. And so I can fill everything out. I can also add the required flag to each input. That way, if I fill out and submit it, but if I don't, it's going to tell me to fill out. So that's some error handling that I can do from the front end, but I could also check it on the back end as well. Cool. Any questions on that? All right. So now I can create a function called handle submit that will event dot prevent default. So maybe I don't want it to refresh. But now I need to somehow extract each what I'm typing in inside of here. I need to extract that somehow. Does anybody remember how to do that?
That's the target that value.
Yep. So I need to, I can const, or no, I'm just gonna console log the event.target like so. And then on the form here, I'm going to add an on submit handler that's going to call handle submit like that. So when I submit this button, this is a type submit. It's going to submit this form and it's going to execute this function that takes in an event. I'm preventing the default behavior of the form. I'm just going to console log event.target. just to see what I'm working with. So if I click submit, I've got that form. I've got event.target. So this is what I am trying to get to. I'm just gonna console log the event. Maybe there's submit. So here we go. I've got event target. All right. So I got 1, 2, 3. All right. Target. If I just do like 0, I just want to see what that does. All right. So maybe I can add it that way. So I've got that input. All right. First, second, third. Cool. So I'm able to access the value of first by grabbing that index at 0, because that's the first input within this form. So that's one way I can do it. Does anybody know of another way? No?
Did you, like last time we gave the input a name and then grab that as an attribute?
Yeah, so let's actually use the name attribute. So name, title, abstract. I'm just calling it what this is. So now I can do .target .title .value. Let's see if that works. So first, second, third. And I'm also accessing it there. Great. So if I'm able to access all of them, just make sure. First, second, third. There we go. We've got them all. Now I can say let article object title equals event.target .title.value abstract abstract.value and byline. And byline.value. So now I've got an article object right there. Article object. So if I do a hard refresh, title, abstract, some more words, and then some whatever, I can submit it. I've got my article object right there. Now I can pass that into my articles API. So I can import article API from API/articles API. And now I can pass that in here. So article API dot add article. I can pass in that article object. I could say, I can also make this a async await. So I can say let article equals await. And then I can just like console log the article just to see what I get back. Or I'll just call this the response. All right. So when I submit that, I create an article object. I pass that article object into the add article API, which comes over here, gets passed into there. JSON.stringifies it, get a response back, And I return that data that is now the response over here on line 14. And now I'm console logging that response. So if everything worked right, you can say another title, another abstract. I think it obviously spelled that wrong. Byline. Now I could submit that. Here's what's at article page, line 15. Right there. Cool. So I successfully submitted an article, but it doesn't do it. It just submits. It doesn't say anything. But now why? I don't know why these routes don't work. But now if I go to the Locos 3000, the homepage, I can see my another title right there. All right. It is 6:30. What questions do you all have?
That's kind of have a broad question. So in,
Yep.
in this scenario, we're working on the made up fake server. And so let's say in a real world scenario, it would have to be an API that allows post requests, which is for the most part is going to be rare. It would probably be something within like your organization or certain things like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So your backend will be your internal backend server, your backend application, and you'd be connecting to your React application using some API. It's not like necessarily third-party API, it's your internal API to make post requests to.
Tom, for this, would we want to include something like the section, since that is something that's used to kind of organize all of the different articles?
Wait, say that one more time.
Would we want to include a section? So like we have the title, the byline, the abstract. Do we want to put it into a section? So like the opinion, the political, the world, or does that not matter?
No, you can definitely do that. It just depends on, so if I wanted to, I can add. Another section as well. Like that. So if I refresh it and go to add article. Now I got a section. So world article, whatever, and then world. Click submit. Uh-oh. What happened? So
Do you need to return the response?
should already return the response. World title. So something maybe it doesn't require a section. Maybe this API doesn't want one, but it should still throw something. But we can deal with that. All right. So the section does work. I just removed this console log and kept pressing the submit button. So it wasn't showing up. So I've got like a bunch of so if I come over here, you can see all the news articles by just every submit. So where is it? So that world article that I was trying to submit, I submitted like a bunch of times, 33. So I've submitted that article a bunch of times. So it was working. Looks like we may have got an error down there, but we'll check it out. All right. So we initially added these required flags to all the control forms. But what if we didn't have these here? Because it is good to have them there, but there are ways for hackers to bypass what's on the front end by making a post request to here without certain attributes. So if we didn't have those required fields and we went to the add article page and maybe we just said submit article without filling out anything, we would get an error. And here you can see that we caught the error in the add article page, or we're actually console logging it. So here's what that error says. So it's an object that says error, details, context article. So if we examine those, the codes, you can see like abstract presence, title presence. So it looks like only the, oh, and yeah. So article, and we also have message, abstract can't be blank, title can't be blank. So the abstract and the title have to have some attributes or have to have something in there. And we also have a message. The article instance is not valid. Details title can't be whatever, can't be something. So here, if we get an error back from the article API, inside of the article API, if we know what is responded with the error, or know that we either get the article back or we get an error back, we can do some testing and do some error handling. So in here, console.log data. So if we do that again, now if I just click submit inside the article API, we get this error. So here we can just do some logic saying like if data dot error, if we get an error, we can console log there was an error. Else we can return that data. So let's just see what this does now. So if I submit it, look, it says there was an error. So now we can actually respond with a more custom message, such as maybe I want to return an object that has a message and I want to extract that message from data.error.message and maybe a status code, because the fetch API always has so the fetch API always returns a 200 error or 200 status code. But now if I come over here, I can console log this. And if I refresh, so I get an error, articles API right there, but I get a message back. The article instance is not valid, details, title can't be blank, status code 200. But if I do submit everything that's required, I get the actual article back. So inside of here, I can do some if response dot message. So if it has a message, I can do something with that message. Else, I can do something. What do we want to happen after I click submit? What do we want to do? What's like a good user experience after I submit an article?
The article page.
I can go to that specific articles page.
Give you a confirmation that it submitted correctly.
Okay, I can also do that. Yeah, we can do a couple of things. We can stay on the add article, or with like a banner that says article submitted correctly. Or we can reroute to the actual article that we submitted. I'm gonna go with we redirect to the article that we submitted. what's the, is it use navigate? In React Router,
Yeah,
router DOM. So if we don't have a message, so if we don't have an error, if we don't respond with a message, we're just going to return with that data. I can just say return data. So we can, is it const navigate equals use navigate? Is it something like that? I don't remember. And then I can navigate to,
I'm not sure you need the curly brackets, do you?
I don't know. I'm just,
I don't think you do.
all right.
yeah, I was thinking the same.
All right. So now, if I look at what we get back, we get the ID back. So now I can response.id, or this is essentially going to be, yeah. I can say response.id. Else, I can maybe add a message on here, use state, const message set message equals use state null, and I can say set state, nope, to, oh dang it, no, set message to response dot message, and down here I can add an alert. What does alerts look like? I always forget. Alert. I can do danger. Here, I can say, hey, if there's a message, the message exists, that means I get an error. This is really ugly. I can display that message. I don't think I need that key, but I do want that danger. So if I come back here and click submit article, there we go. We've got, this is the error that is being responding back to us. Else, if I actually submit something. All right, article 61. Let's see what's going on here. Why doesn't it go to article? So if I click, did I misspell it? Articles. Add article. Let's do business. There we go. So now I'm at article 62. I can see this down here. If I go to business, you can see this is section has business, and there we go. What else do I want to do? Probably want to add a button that says take me to the new article. So I'll do that in the app nav component. So down here it says create nav bar. I can either create a button or a link. I guess I'll just create another nav link. But outside of this one, on click navigate to new article. Or I guess it's called add article, right? And here I could say add article. I don't need see if this works. So I've got an add article. Click there, it takes me to the add article page. If I don't submit anything, I get an error. If I do submit something, I get that. Then everything should still be working, and you can see all my articles that I created. All right, so I've got add article. Any questions? Now I can actually look for like, was it world article? Well, if I looked for world, I submit, you get a bunch of the world articles. What questions do you have about the error handling? With this part, this is actually a stretch goal. We don't have to do it. All right. Let's see what else we got. So new site 5, added the article page. So we only actually need to contain 3 fields: title, byline, abstract. You don't need to contain the section, but if you want to, you can. Here we go. Login page. Again, we'll want to create a new page now. In the event handler. So here we're just creating like a dummy login. We're not actually creating a real login yet. So here, login page, page.js, RSC, login page. I'll add an H1 tag, a login page like that. I'm going to leverage React Bootstrap because that already, the form is pretty much, it's pretty much this form that we just kind of used. The only thing we don't need is there we go. Come down here. So we don't need that checkbox. We could have this error if we wanted to. We don't need this form control ID. But I could use the name attribute, email. And this is password. And what does it want us to do? We have password fields. Yeah, React Bootstrap. That's what I'm. So it should go to login. And then, so add an event listener that just console logs email and password. So I'm just going to say const handle login, takes in the event, and it's just going to console log, or I guess I'll create an object, const login credentials or email was event.target.email.value. And the last one is password. And then I'm just going to console log the login credentials like so. And then on the form, I'm going to class name, add some margin, and add an on submit handler that runs that handle login. Lastly, I'm going to go to the app.js, create another route to there, route, path, equals login. The component I want to render is the login page, like so. And I'm going to also use the app nav. Where'd it go? So I'm going to create another URL that takes me to the login page. And there we go. So if I refresh, nothing works because it's not running. I run npm start. Should reload it. I should have that login in the app nav. So it's fetching the articles. Still has, oh, so I killed the server. That means none of my articles saved because it's just like a arbitrary, it's not like a persistent database. But if I go to add article, article 1, whatever, national news, there's my national news. There's my article 1. If I visit the entire page, you can see my article 1 down there. Can log in. Oh no, what happened? So my login isn't working. Form is not defined. So it looks like my login page, I forgot to import. Form and button from React Bootstrap. There it is. So I'm going to clear that console. Now I can enter an email. Well, so tom@email.com, ABC123, and now I submit that. Oh, it refreshed, which I do not want. So in my handle login, when I actually log in, I'm going to prevent default. So I want that login credentials to console log. Do a hard refresh. tom@email.com, ABC123. And there we go. So login should be pretty straightforward. Yeah. So our new site is starting to actually look relatively or have a decent amount of functionality to it. All right, what questions y'all have about what we kind of covered tonight with the add article? So we're making post requests now. Right here. We're doing some air handling. Yeah. So what questions do you have? All right, I will